Okay, well, again, welcome to the Friday edition of Richardson Plano Networking. And today we have another great guest, Barbara Cole Salmeron. She's trained thousands of people on how to have more harmonious and effective relationships at home and at work. As a certified and licensed expert in human instinct, Barbara brings her unique perspective to the table when helping her clients to end the battle of the sexes. She lives in East Dallas with her husband, Rick number two. You can ask her about that. And their two feisty female felines. I like that. Today, Barbara will illuminate relationship problems we all face at home and at work, providing us with tools and solutions which you can implement immediately. Barbara's talk today is Modern Day Cave People, named after her upcoming book series with the same title. Please help me welcome Barbara Cole Salmeron.
Hello, thank you. Thank you. So I'm going to be sharing my screen for most of this. And let's see here. So today we're going to be, let's see, you can see my screen, yeah? Give me a thumbs up. Okay, thank you. Okay, so today we're talking about our modern day cave people instincts, surviving leadership, the 5 keys to office empowerment. And if you have any questions as we go, if you can just put them in the chat. I might wait until the end to check that just so I can see how we're doing on time. And I've already put my information there, so you could always email me questions too, and I welcome a one-on-one. That's great. Let's see, and I will ask for some feedback. I like a visual thumbs up now and then, so if we can practice that, it's really helpful for speakers. You know, thumbs down is okay if your answer is no, but thumbs up, helpful for us to see that people are out there listening. Okay, so let's jump into this. You have the power to transform your most difficult relationships into your most productive partnerships. Give me a thumbs up if you think that would be valuable to learn how to do. So imagine you're hard at work on an important project with a looming deadline. You're in the zone, you're getting it done, you're making it happen, when all of a sudden you see Chatty Cathy walking towards you. Oh no, you inwardly groan, because even though she's a very pleasant person, you know that she has a tendency to derail your focus with her very detailed stories, and you're on a very tight deadline. So have you ever felt like this with a coworker, or maybe a boss, or maybe working from home, those types of interruptions? Yeah. So what's happening here is something that I call hunting mode and gathering mode. And that's our first key today to our modern day cave people instincts. And hunting mode is different from gathering mode in terms of, just think of them as 2 separate operating systems, like Mac and PC. And it's not about good or bad or right or wrong. They're just different, right? They have different strengths and weaknesses. And so when it comes to hunting mode and gathering mode, we all have the ability to switch back and forth between them. And I'll describe when that happens. But think about, have you ever been late for a work or an important appointment or getting to work? And if you're running late, did you drive a little faster and maybe weave traffic a little more? Maybe you were annoyed or impatient with any red lights or school zones, anything like that, slow drivers. That's an example of being in hunting mode. You have a result to produce, and you need to get somewhere on time. So there's a time constraint involved. Or similar with, you have a project to complete by Friday, let's say. So you're in hunting mode because you have a result to produce on a time limit. People who are in hunting mode tend to be short and to the point. And then anything that interferes with their ability to produce a result is going to bring up frustration. And we call that hunting mode because back in the day of the cave people, the hunters and the warriors had a very important job. They had to either feed the tribe or protect the tribe. And if something got in the way of them producing their results, it was a matter of life and death. Can you see that? So those neural pathways are deeply etched in the human brain. So even though we know logically that no one is going to die if we're late or if we miss a deadline, we're talking about instinct here today, not logic. And it's all on a subconscious level. So in hunting mode, our survival instinct has us producing a result in order to feel safe. Again, it links back to survival. And then gathering mode. Okay, gathering mode, on the other hand, is a little different. It is all about needing connection. And there's no deadline when we are in gathering mode. So this is what's happening when you're having a great conversation with a friend and there's no agenda, there's nothing to accomplish. You two are really connecting. Maybe there's no deadline. Maybe you're at brunch, just taking your time. Or to go back to the driving example, you're out on a Sunday drive and you've got lots of extra time. Maybe you even don't have a destination in mind. And you see somewhere interesting and something unplanned, you can stop along the way and check it out. So that's an example of being in gathering mode. So just with the driving example, can you see the difference between hunting mode and gathering mode? Yeah, awesome, thank you. Okay, so the gathering mode instinct is connection and the currency is details. Have you ever asked someone a question and gotten really irritated with the time-consuming level of detail that seems unnecessary? I know I have, because I'm a woman who's in hunting mode a lot. So when this is happening, the talkative person is in gathering mode, trying to connect, sharing lots of details, and the frustrated person is in hunting mode, and they want to get back to producing their results. So can you feel that tension between the two of them? You've probably experienced this at work or at home. So back in the day of the cave people, the women were typically the gatherers, and we had to go out into the meadow to gather the food and the firewood, and we would have to notice all of the details, not only to stay safe from the tiger that might be hiding in the grass there, but also to be able to convey all of those details to the other gatherers. Because if my fellow gatherers don't know that the poisonous berries look exactly like the good berries, then somebody could bring back the wrong berries and we're all gonna die, right? So it's this tension, it's this being compelled to share all of those details, because if the details aren't known, someone's life is at stake. So again, it's those neural pathways. So those being compelled to connect comes into play because back then we lived together in tribes as a form of survival. And especially as women, if we were to get kicked out of the tribe, then we would have to build or find our own shelter, hunt all of our own food, take care of the little ones. So again, that was a matter of life and death. So connection became a survival instinct, and we developed all sorts of behaviors that we still see modern day, like pleasing and avoiding displeasing, those kinds of things. Okay, and then all of the details included with that as well. So just some self-reflection questions for you. When do you find yourself in hunting mode, and when are you in gathering mode? And I actually have a worksheet that I forgot to put in the chat. Maybe I'll stop at some point and do that. It'll look just like this, that if you want it, you can print it out and you can answer these questions for yourself. So as we move through these next 4 keys of office empowerment, whether you find yourself relating more to hunting mode or more to gathering mode, or like most of us, if you see that you go back and forth, depending on the situation, it's totally okay. Today's topic will have the opportunity to illuminate a lot of information for you, not just at work, but also at home. So if you remember just one thing from today, remember this, it'll come up several times. Think to yourself, when you see a conflict, think to yourself, who's hunting and who's gathering. Now, I'm going to share with you a little tool on how to help yourself shift when you notice there's a conflict between hunting mode and gathering mode. There are these two sides to every human being that we call human normal and human spirit. And human normal is all about, again, our ancient survival instinct. It's completely run by survival. And that instinct shows up as just a knee-jerk reaction that happens before we even realize it. Because our brain thinks that our survival is at stake, so we feel tension in the body and we react quickly. And it's what has allowed our species to survive for many years, right? So the brain recognizes it as a good thing. So we still have that. And the modern day example can be something as simple as someone's not loading the dishwasher right. Okay, that brings up a survival instinct. And if someone loses their job or takes a big financial hit, that can also really feel like life and death. Even though in modern day, we have evolved a little bit, right? We don't have the same threats to survival that we once did. We have grocery stores and houses to live in, and there's no tiger hiding in the grass ready to pounce on us. But the neural pathways in the brain are almost unchanged. So we're still affected by that. So you'll feel when you're in human normal, you'll feel the instinct of the tension in your body. You might be holding your breath. And what we want to do is shift into human spirit and remind ourselves that no one's going to die here. And we can shift into human spirit by just taking a few deep breaths, pausing before we respond, and maybe taking a drink of water or walking out of the room if you need to. So when we shift into human spirit, we can respond with compassion and understanding for the other person, especially now since we know about hunting mode and gathering mode. We can just identify that. It's not always easy to respond compassionately, right? But can you agree that we get a better result both at work and at home when we respond with compassion and understanding, right? Yes, thank you. All right, so for the rest of this topic, we're gonna be exploring how these hunting mode and gathering mode instincts create conflict in the workplace and how to choose partnership by shifting into human spirit. So just keep an open mind, because this material also applies to all of our relationships at work or at home, families, with our kids, with our honey, and we can ask ourselves who's hunting and who's gathering. Okay, so I think I want to go ahead and put the worksheet in the chat since I forgot to do that. So let's see here. And you can choose to download it if you like. It'll look exactly like what the screen is here. Okay. And again, if you have any questions, put them in the chat and we'll see if I can get to them. Hopefully I can. All right, so the second key to office empowerment for the modern day cave people are the instincts of respect versus attention. And in hunting mode, for the man or the woman who's in hunting mode, respect is our greatest access to being productive, because we can achieve greater results by working with others. So the modern day translation, if your boss or your coworkers respect you, you'll get picked for the big project, right? We'll be trusted, we can be in the inner circle. But the opposite, a lack of respect at work, translates into financial insecurity. So if you've ever had a job where you didn't get along with the leadership and you knew you weren't getting the promotions that you deserved, there's very little motivation to stay at a job where there's no path for upward movement. So respect is critical for the person who's in hunting mode. Now, here's the tricky thing about respect. It occurs differently for everyone. Give me a thumbs up if you think it's a sign of disrespect when someone is late for an appointment with you. Yeah, so some people feel that way. Some people don't see that as personal at all. Maybe the other person just has poor time management skills, right? So it's easy to make assumptions that everyone experiences respect in the same way, but we really don't. And I've interviewed hundreds of people on the topic of respect by itself, both men and women, and the viewpoints on this can really vary wildly. So the reason why this is important is because we might be treating someone, such as our boss or our coworkers, in a way that we perceive as respectful, but it might not be landing with them. So a nice little partnership tool, you can ask people, how do they experience respect? Or if they have a hard time answering that, how do they experience disrespect? And then see if the opposite holds true. So if you feel disrespected when someone's late, then you feel respected when someone's punctual, right? So just see if that's true. And when you learn, you'll be amazed at the variety of responses if you ask the important people in your life, at home, at work. And when you learn and you see all the varied responses, it'll be pretty illuminating for you. So, and then you can create stronger partnerships just by being able to show those people respect in the way that they understand it rather than the way you understand it. So I encourage you to give that a try. Now, for the woman or the man in gathering mode, attention gives us our greatest access to feeling safe, because attention creates connection, which is the huge survival instinct for the person in gathering mode. So when someone asks you, how is your day? They're likely, or how are you? They're likely in gathering mode, and they're needing and they're giving attention. They're wanting to connect. So have you ever sent your boss or someone important an email expecting them to get back to you in a certain time frame, and then they don't? And you're waiting and you're waiting, right? And you wonder, oh my gosh, did I say something offensive? Are they upset with me? And you go back and you check to see if you even press send on the email. This could be a text message as well, if that sounds familiar. So that tension in the body is what we feel around gathering mode, that survival instinct concerned with connection. And it's coming up because of a lack of attention. So looking here on the left, the potential conflicts with this is we can see a decrease in productivity. We can start making up all sorts of stories about what this means, all sorts of misunderstandings and assumptions. My boss doesn't like me, or they're upset with me, or maybe I'm gonna get fired, you know? So it can be a downward spiral. So we have to watch that. But really, because maybe our boss was just in meetings all day, or whoever it was. Maybe the spam folder ate the email, right? So that lack of attention or response can cause our inner cave woman or caveman to feel disconnected and unsafe. So can you see how that could derail productivity at work? Yeah, because then we're all worried about that. So some of the partnership tools on the right here, again, first having compassion and not making the other person wrong. They might just be in a separate operating mode from you. They might be in hunting mode. And ask yourself who's hunting and who's gathering. And then remember to shift into human spirit to get curious. And you can ask questions to the important people in your life, such as what type of respect or attention helps them to feel safe or appreciated. So you can see how this applies at work and at home. It's human instinct, so it applies everywhere there's humans. Okay. So then the self-reflection questions here, how do you experience respect or disrespect? Now moving on to key number 3, Susan and Jim. Susan was working away on a tight deadline when she noticed Jim walking towards her office. Her sense of dread mounted as Jim was known around the office for being quite talkative. He walked into her office and sat down, and she realized this was going to take a while. Jim shared with Susan lots of details about how the new project their boss had given him was affecting him. And as he continued, she was silently wondering, what does this have to do with me? Am I even involved in this? Her frustration continued to grow as she felt lost in all of the details, and she wished he would get to the point so she could just get back to work. Susan finally interrupted him and said, I'm sorry, Jim, I really need to get back at it. And he stopped talking and he looked annoyed as he left her office, and then she closed the door and got back to work. So we've got 2 annoyed people here, right? So who's right and who's wrong? There's no right and wrong, right? We want to ask who's hunting and who's gathering. So this is the third key to office empowerment, which is about producing results and connecting. And I think most of us have experienced this kind of thing at work or even at home right now if you're working from home. And we've experienced both being in hunting mode and in gathering mode at some point. The hunting mode instinct of producing results was at play for Susan, and the gathering mode instinct of connecting was driving Jim. So when a man or a woman is in hunting mode, it's all about the outcome, and they're listening for relevancy when you're speaking. They'll be thinking, how does this affect my results? What does this have to do with me? And they will be frustrated and impatient with what they view as unrelated information. And the person in gathering mode will approach it differently. So Jim was in gathering mode and trying to connect. And when someone shares a lot of details, it's actually a sign that they trust you. Because when they're sharing details, especially about themselves, they wouldn't do that if they didn't trust you. The person in gathering mode is listening for points of connection because on the instinctual level, they feel unsafe without that connection. Not conscious, but subconscious, right? So Jim might feel rejected in this scenario or have his feelings hurt, or he might even worry that Susan's mad at him. So the conflicts in the office, of course, the person in hunting mode can have an intolerance for details, and they might even be perceived as being abrupt or rude. And in the office setting, that can be very disempowering to the people on their team. So that's going to decrease productivity. And the person in gathering mode can be perceived as annoying or irritating by the person in hunting mode. Can you see that? That little conflict happening? Yeah, great. So how do we reconcile and get into harmony with these conflicting needs and instincts? So the partnership tools, first we want to remember it's not personal. When someone's in hunting mode, it's really easy to feel offended or feel upset when someone's abrupt with us. Maybe they're just in hunting mode, but we've all been there on a deadline. We can't stop and have a conversation with someone. When you're approaching someone who is in hunting mode, you can state relevancy by saying something like, I promise this is relevant to what you're working on. Or you can say, I know you're busy right now, and I just need to ask you one quick question. But then make sure that it's, keep your word, right? Only one quick question, not more than that. And then if you do need more time, you can simply just ask for the appointment. You can ask when they have some free time for a longer discussion, and then they can offer their time and attention when they're at a stopping point, when they can take a break. The men and women that I've interviewed have told me that this does not completely derail their focus the way a conversation would. And that way, when you guys do talk, you will have their full and undivided attention. So to help the person in gathering mode, in order to connect and feel safe, some of the tools we can use include, I only have about 5 minutes before my meeting, but I want to connect with you for a moment. Tell me your 2 favorite things about your vacation. This gives the person in hunting mode a sense of safety because their time is protected. They stated that they only have a limited time to connect. And it also supports the person in gathering mode in narrowing their focus and getting right to the point. So both people get what they need, and then the connection is strengthened. Can you see how that could strengthen partnerships at work? Yeah. Cool. Okay, so now the self-reflection. Do you get impatient if your focus is interrupted, impatient or frustrated? And do you find sometimes that you need to connect with others in order to be more productive? Okay, moving on to key number 4, Sandy and Becca worked together in a small office. Sandy works hard and is described by her coworkers as being serious and stoic. She doesn't make any waves, and she isn't interested in the chit chat around the water cooler. Sandy's coworkers really don't know much about her personal life. Becca is more social and chatty and always wants to hear the latest office gossip. She's known for everyone informed and is often overheard saying, "Did you hear the news?" Everyone knows that Becca is in the know and that she's not so great at keeping secrets. Okay, so we can identify who's hunting, who's gathering. So this fourth key is concealing versus revealing, and this is a juicy one. Definitely Sandy was in hunting mode, and she's compelled to conceal, which is a normal instinct because to conceal is to protect. She's protecting her job, she's protecting her time, she's protecting even her personal life, right? So Dave will like this. Something that we call warrior mode is an aspect of hunting mode, and the warrior protects. And when it comes to concealing, that is an aspect of protecting. So protecting for the warrior or for the hunter is more important than connecting. The warrior conceals anything that can be used against them. They conceal their strengths or their weaknesses. And privacy and confidentiality is a very big deal for the warrior or the hunter, especially in the work environment. Becca, on the other hand, spends more of her time in gathering mode, and her survival instinct is to reveal in order to feel safe by building status. She reveals things about herself to find potential points of connection with others. And depending on the group that she's talking to, she may even reveal some of her own flaws to downplay her status because she doesn't want to stick up too far ahead of the crowd, right? She may also name drop or reveal things about others in order to establish status, this concept of status, by demonstrating her insider knowledge. And she doesn't realize her coworkers in hunting mode would perceive this as a violation of trust and privacy. Now, status is a very interesting thing because depending on what group we find ourselves in, we will be comfortable with a certain level of status within that group. And we will reveal or conceal accordingly to maintain a certain level of status. It's really fascinating to watch. So, of course, the conflicts that can happen with concealing and revealing, some of the modern day conflicts we see in the office include someone in gathering mode might feel purposefully excluded with the concealing, or the level of concealing can be such that it makes working with others difficult. Your team might not know what's expected of them or how to do their part of the project. And the person in hunting mode probably doesn't even realize that they're concealing the plan and not allowing others to do their part. That's very common. And then another conflict with revealing is when the person in gathering mode intentionally or accidentally reveals too much about others without permission. So again, that creates that loss of respect. And revealing too much about oneself can appear as bragging. So for the partnership choices on these instincts, remember to shift into human spirit and just recognize that these behaviors are tied to deeply rooted survival instincts. And remember that protecting privacy helps us gain the trust of the hunters and the warriors. Another partnership choice is we can say to the person in hunting mode, in order to produce my results, I need to know X, Y, and Z. And then they can tell you that part. In gathering mode, if someone is revealing details to you, it's a sign of trust and safety. Again, they're seeking connection. And when you notice that someone in gathering mode is trying to establish status, they might be a little nervous. So we can give them sincere admiration, which can really help to calm their inner caveman or inner cavewoman. So again, this is at home and at work, yeah? All human interaction. So the self-reflection questions here are, when do you conceal to protect? And when do you reveal to build status? Okay, we're gonna have a little drawing. So if you could put your email in the chat if you'd like to enter the drawing. There we go. I'm going to put another document in the chat that you can open up if you choose to. Let's see here. So if you put your email in the chat, then you'll be entered into the drawing. And if you like, you can download that, or you can just look at this. This is the same. So this is different ways that I present this topic, whether it's to individuals. I've got a digital bundle version. I've got lunch and learn for a company or for a group of individuals, for individual pricing and that kind of thing. So if you're interested in any of these are just something that's available, and that's detailed on the document that I just put in there. Okay, so Dave, how many emails do we have in there? 5,000? Oops, I'm not hearing you.
You're muted, Dave.
And I turn off my mic so that I don't take over the screen. Yeah, so it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Looks like we got Zip. Put your email in the chat if you hear me. I don't know if he can hear me. He's still on. He's off screen. He just joined. So.
Okay.
Okay. Looks like we've got pretty much 12 people on.
Okay, perfect. I've got 1 through 12 right here. I'm going to randomly pick a number.
Oh,
so,
I already picked the number before we started. You want me to tell you what it is?
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Did you pick a number between 1 and 12?
Yeah, you asked me to.
Oh, I asked you to count, and I was going to do it this way, but that's okay. If you picked a number before we started, it's totally impartial.
Well, if you got some magic number, I just picked a number before you even started to talk. So
here's what I want to try. So just tell me when to stop moving my finger so nobody can see.
Stop.
Number 8.
That was the number I picked.
Oh my gosh, we're on the same wavelength.
Really
wow,
weird. That's really weird. So let's see. That would be.
That's funny. Number 8. Who's the winner?
Let's see. Sorry, just a second. I'm counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That would be Steve.
Steve is the winner. Excellent. So let me open the chat so I can make sure to. I'm going to email you the. I will email you.
On firstmetonline.com.
Perfect.
Correct.
Perfect. So Steve, I'll email you. What you're going to win is the first thing on the list here, my digital bundle. And I've got that pricing marked for today, but since I know that there's a replay, in case anyone else wants this, let me put my email in the chat again, in case anyone else is interested in any of this stuff. There we go. And instead of just honoring this for today, let's just do this through the end of the month. So in case anyone is watching the replay, I'll honor these prices until Monday. Monday is August 31st. So sometime on Monday, anyone who's watching the replay, email me, and I'm happy to honor the prices for any of these adventures here. Okay.
Go ahead and say your email address, Barbara, because the chat may not necessarily be part of the live video.
Good point. I better put that on there. Okay, so it is love@empoweredrelationships.org. So empowered is past tense, relationships is plural, love@empoweredrelationships.org. Good point, Jeff. I will update my slides with that for next time. Thank you. Okay, let's do the 5th key. All right, the 5th key, let's talk about Robert and Daniel, who are on one of the most successful sales teams in the office. Robert is the team leader, and Daniel provides much of the support to the sales team every month. Robert gets frustrated when the team falls short of their goal, and sometimes he changes the strategy for the following month. Daniel is in a support position for the sales team. And when Robert makes sudden changes, it really increases his workload. Sometimes he doesn't even know there's been a change until it's too late. And then he feels like his previous efforts are wasted. Robert doesn't understand all that Daniel's job entails, and Daniel doesn't feel very supported at times. He wishes Robert would check in before making big changes to consider how it would affect him and the rest of the team. So again, we ask here, who's hunting, who's gathering? Key number 5 is behind the instincts of behind the plan and behind the person. So for hunting mode, getting behind the plan can look like wowing the plan, which will encourage the hunter to share details. So when the boss is in hunting mode and has a plan that's formed, you can say something like, wow, I see you've really got a great plan here. Can you share with me a little more about what my part is and what that looks like? Because another important piece of supporting the plan is not doing more than your part. And I know that sounds counterintuitive, but when someone on the team does more than their part, it can definitely result in duplicated efforts and overlap. Okay, also honoring the privacy of the plan. You may not need to know all the details of it, so respecting that it might be a need to know basis and not taking that personally, okay? In this case, Robert is in hunting mode and he wants the team to get behind the plan. Daniel is in gathering mode and he wants leadership to be more supportive by being behind the person. So for gathering mode, if the team members don't feel supported as a person, if it's just all about them being acknowledged for what they can produce, then they are less likely to support the plan, and then resentment can grow, and again, productivity declines. Can you see how that could happen in the workplace? Yeah, I'm sure you've seen this before. So supporting the physical, mental, and emotional needs of your team, as well as supporting or prioritizing the person over the plan. That's what the person in gathering mode needs in order to feel appreciated. And conflicts can include, we may unknowingly step on the plan because we didn't even know there was a plan, right? Back to concealing. We didn't know there was a plan, so we might accidentally step on it. Doing more than our part can result in something being done incorrectly or a duplication of effort, which is super frustrating for anyone who's in hunting mode. So any waste of resources, which we call money, energy, and time, is super irritating and triggering for somebody in hunting mode, because conserving is yet another survival instinct. So we don't want to duplicate that. The person in gathering mode may feel disconnected when it's all just only about the plan, which is going to result in a decrease of productivity and enthusiasm and focus. So the partnership choices around this can include honoring both the plan and the person, because we really need both, right? Otherwise, nothing gets done, or the final result ends up being something that comes from a disgruntled team. Might not be the best result. So determine which mode your teammates are in most often, and then you can give them the support that they need. So in hunting mode, we can ask, how can I support the plan? And if they're in gathering mode, we can just kind of notice, do they seem happy? Do they seem okay? Are they comfortable? Or we can ask them, how can I support you? Okay, so the self-reflection questions here is, how do you like your plan to be supported by others when you're in hunting mode? And how do you like to be personally supported? Okay, are there any questions? I can look in the chat, or you can come on the microphone. We have a few minutes left for questions.
One of the questions that Randy had is, how do we order the items that you posted the pricing on?
Okay, good question. Yeah, just email me or call me. So on the worksheet or on this, if you take a screenshot, my phone number is there. You can call or text or email me, and we can work that out. I've got an online classroom where I've got that digital bundle, but then I can give you a discount code for that. Good question. I'm going to just glance at the chat in case anyone else had questions, or are there any other questions if anyone wants to speak up?
Yeah, anybody that has a question, just go ahead and unmute, and then when you're done, remute. But anybody has any questions, go ahead and do that right now.
Yeah, Babara, this is great information, and something that occurred to me was the in-between, and I like to call it talking out loud, because no one's always 100% hunting or 100% gathering. So there's times when people are just, I call it talking out loud. And so, what is your advice regarding talking out loud?
Talking out loud. So I would say, yeah, you're right. Nobody is ever like 100% in either one, and we can switch back and forth. So I would say determining which one you're in more would be if there is a result to produce and a time constraint. As soon as there's a time constraint to something, that shifts us into hunting mode. The other part of talking out loud, if we're just talking, just having conversation, and there's no time constraint, no deadline, then it might be more like, and there's nothing they're trying to achieve or produce, then it might be that they're more in gathering mode. And this is an interesting difference. A lot of my teachings are based in the hunting and gathering. However, there are biological differences between men and women down to our brain structure before we're born, and that creates different behaviors. And women are often said to think out loud, and then we come to our conclusion by thinking out loud, and men more often think internally and then announce their decision, which you can see how that can create friction in any kind of relationship. Honey, we're moving to Minnesota. I've decided, like, what? I hate the snow. So yeah, that talking out loud, and it could be like a matter of brainstorming. But again, are you in a business meeting where you guys are trying to brainstorm about the best idea for whatever? Because in that case, you're hunting for a solution. Does that make sense?
Yeah, my wife's great at talking out loud. Drives me crazy.
I call it rehearsing your thoughts outside of your head. And actually, that's the way I refine my thoughts through conversation with people that I trust.
Right. So it is an indication that she trusts you. And the gatherer, back in the day when the women were the gatherers, this is a little side note, we went out into the meadow together in groups, and we were talking. You know how women go to the bathroom in groups now? Like, we go and we're talking, because we're making noise to scare away the little critters. Because back then, even a small bite or a scratch from a critter could be very dangerous. And so we are announcing our arrival by not letting there be any silence. So again, these ancient survival instincts. So you know that she's in gathering mode. And we kind of call that emptying your basket or giving a meadow report, when she's telling you all about her day and all of the details. And what women don't understand is often men have a limited capacity for how much they can retain of all of those details, because men are typically hunting for the point or the problem. And when she's doing her meadow report, you guys can have a conversation about this. Your job is only to hold the basket, let her empty, because she's kind of defragging her brain when she's giving the meadow report. And so your job is to hold the basket and say, okay, yep, anything more? What else do you want to share? As long as she doesn't expect you to remember any of it. So that is the partnership choice between men and women. And then you can be honest, like, I can only handle 10 minutes of a meadow report. Other than that, like, we as women, we have a responsibility, like, do this with our girlfriends. We can do our meadow report with our girlfriends, and then we can come to our honey or another man and get to the point, and say, I discovered this about myself, XYZ. So, and I'm a woman in hunting mode a lot. I've got some friends that are in gathering mode 99% of the time, and I have to really put myself in a space of relaxation, knowing that the conversation's not going to make sense. It's going to jump everywhere, and that's okay. We're just connecting, and nothing will be accomplished.
Yeah, I once heard that women have typically about 25,000 words they got to get rid of every day. So I try to remember that when my wife's what do you call it, meadow reporting?
The meadow report. Yeah, the report of her day from being out in the meadow. And she's emptying her basket, because as she's going all day, it's like things are jumping into her basket, and she has to empty that to be able to relax. And also think of it like, I like to think of it as defragging a computer hard drive. Remember when we used to have to do that? She's defragging, like she's got to unload all that stuff before she can relax. But you can have a conversation and be in agreement about it, put a time limit on it, or just get a glass of wine and sit and listen. But she needs to be in agreement that you don't have to remember all of those details, because that's harder for the hunter to do.
Patricia, did you have something?
I was just going to mention, when you started off, something that happened to me since all this COVID stuff, since I do things by appointment. And one night, a lady was set up for the next morning about 9 o'clock, and she sent me an email late at night, like 10 or 11 at night, and I don't even look at my phone or emails or anything after about 6 o'clock. And she says, "Oh, something came up and I can't be there tomorrow morning." And I was going, "Huh? You didn't? Oh, my husband has to do a contract job." I thought she found out the night before. But then with talking with my colleagues, I found out, things do happen, because I'm the one that's going to be there usually about a half hour earlier to meet somebody, just to make sure I'm not running late. But it worked out. But yes, you have to be pretty flexible these days.
Yeah, you're definitely in gathering mode, Patricia. Okay, we got 5 minutes to land the plane. So, Randy, did you have something? You raised your hand.
Anything else?
Yes, I did want to just make two comments. First of all, thank you, Barbara. I've heard this many, many times throughout my career, but your talk today was one of the best, clearest, most concise, articulate, and valuable of this particular topic that I've heard in my entire career. And I wish we had had this, a couple of years ago when David started the group. But one of the things that I think is really critical is each of us, we need to think about this when we're having one-on-ones, because I guess we could ask the other person if they're a hunter or gatherer, and if they hadn't seen this presentation, they may not have a clue what that means. But regardless, we have to listen to the other person and ask the appropriate questions. So you've clarified a lot of things in this that I always had some questions. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Great job. Let's give Barbara a hand.
Thank you so much. Let me leave you with this one thought.
Okay.
In order to transform your most difficult relationships into productive partnerships, just remember to ask yourself, who's hunting and who's gathering?
Amen. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Barbara. Great job. And again, self-observance, self-awareness, all these things are situational. So it ends up being where each person is at the time. So you can't just, we're not all hunters or gatherers, right? We are in those modes every step of the way. So anyway, thank you. It was awesome. Very, very exciting. Very good. We have a Wednesday meeting next week, and please RSVP as early as possible for that. The Wednesdays are still running, 35, 40 people. So it helps me to know what to expect. Also next Friday, I will be doing the training. It'll be up on the calendar. I know it's Labor Day weekend. I'm not going anywhere. Next Saturday is a men's breakfast network. We are doing it on Saturday. If you are traveling, doing normal stuff like most of us aren't, feel free. I think you want to, one of the things we're going to do next Friday is not necessarily, I'm hosting it, but next Friday is going to be, I'll be guiding us in a conversation about ways to take Richardson Plano networkers and our networking to the next level. As we look at what we're doing here via Zoom, the hybrid meetings, the still doing training. I don't know of any. I mean, Jeff, you may know. I don't know of any other group that I'm experienced with that every week has training and has a networking meeting every
No,
week.
not two separate meetings, not at all.
Well, and again, I don't even, if you know a group that does training every week, I'd like to see what they do.
None of the groups I'm in, David.
So, I mean, I'm in groups. I have groups that have a training format once a month, like Success North Dallas, and other, or at least have a speaker. But
The team, the Michael Velosin's groups were doing speakers every week, Tuesdays and Thursdays, but they do it. They don't do the same kind of network. They do the networking like we do here,
right.
and then the speaking on. So,
Yeah. So anyway, I'm just one of like I said, the purpose
it's unique stuff.
the purpose of next Friday for those that can make it, and I'm gonna encourage if you would to be part of our future is to be there. I'm going to be gathering and not really doing a lot of hunting. So I'm really trying to get clarity. Okay, those of you who work with me know that kind of the discovery process is one of kind of brainstorming and thinking. So we're going to be doing some of that and trying to honor the various inputs from the various hunters in the room. And then I'll be trying to use that with the leadership and other folks, people that, to try and, plot our course forward to be stronger and better and continue to grow and add more value to the folks in the group, because that's why I spend probably 20, 30 hours a week keeping these groups in motion, is because it's not just to do it. It's to hopefully help your businesses, help your lives. And as I always say, I'm going to open up the mic here in 1 minute, but I just want to make sure that everybody that's still here, and I know some of you are off camera, but you're here, is I love each and every one of you. I appreciate the fact that you've taken this time. I appreciate you, Barbara, for sharing not only your most valuable asset, but your wisdom and the things that are in your heart and in your mind. And I hope that we've honored you a little bit. And her offer on her sheet is great. Reach out to her, and I will be making an effort to get this up on the YouTube channel before end of day tomorrow, let's say. And so it should be up there long enough if you want to circle back and pick up anything. Her worksheet's still up on the chat. I'll leave it open, but now we're going to open it. Thank you again for sharing your most valuable asset, and have a beautiful weekend, everybody.